throw me down flights of stairs. When I was pregnant, he threatened to throw me down the flight of stairs. The only thing that stopped him was his mother pulled a shotgun.
Nothing but a drug addict and, I guess, a prostitute for these guys. At 15, I had given up on myself. I belonged to the street. I belonged to whoever would show me kindness.
There were 2 young women who had already been at the club before our arrival, and they confirmed that they believe that these men are truly capable of killing someone. The 2 girls also told us that the men beat them if they don't do what the men expect of them. The 3 of us who had arrived together were sold to another club within a few days.
कस्टमर तो नहीं मारते थे जब मैं मना करती थी. डेली मुझे इंजेक्शन देना था. 2 और सवेरे और शाम पे 2 टाइम इंजेक्शन देते थे मुझे.
Human trafficking is a highly profitable business driven by the demands for cheap or free labor and the demand for commercial sex. The International Labor Organization estimates the annual profit from the exploitation of all trafficked forced labor is at $31.6 billion in the Middle East. Human trafficking is often referred to as modern-day slavery. It is the illegal movement of people for the purpose of forced labor or commercial sexual exploitation. Mainly involving women and children as its victims, trafficking in the Middle East is a common and grave violation of human rights and a form of violence against anyone forced into it. Human trafficking happens because the trafficking industry wants money and goods, so they figure the easiest way to get this is by cheap forced labor or services. Migrant workers flood to the Middle East from some of the world's poorest countries in search of paid work that they are unable to find at home. And for many people, they become victims of human trafficking, forced labor, and sexual exploitation. Owners and managers of entertainment establishments, also known as sex brokers or pimps, own the victims and force them to do whatever they say, or else they could be threatened and severely hurt. Women, primarily from Asian and African countries, are also believed to have been trafficked into Saudi Arabia. Some Saudi men have also used legally contracted temporary marriages in countries such as Mauritania, Yemen, Indonesia, and Syria as means by which to exploit migrant workers. Sometimes when the woman marries the husband, he can trick her into becoming trafficked. Then the woman becomes their husband's sexual slave and is forced into domestic labor and in some cases prostitution. Even though prostitution is legally forbidden in most countries of the Middle East, the commercial sex industry employing foreign women is unofficially tolerated. Traffickers frequently recruit people through fraudulent advertisements that promises legitimate jobs such as hostesses, domestics, modeling, or work in the agriculture industry. Therefore, they are lured into jobs that either don't exist or that were offered under conditions that were very different from what they were promised in the first place. Victims of trafficking are often found in the streets or working in establishments that offer commercial sex acts. Victims are subject to physical and sexual violence by both their pimp and the person who bought them for the time being. Victims are often trapped in appalling conditions without any way to get out, such as being confined in their workplace, being placed under surveillance, being made to live in degrading conditions, like sleeping in a kitchen or hallway, or having their identity papers confiscated. Yemeni children, mostly boys, are trafficked across the northern border with Saudi Arabia or to the Yemeni cities of Aden and Sana'a for forced labor, primarily to be beggars, but also for domestic servitude or work in small shops. Traffic victims may suffer from many physical and psychological health issues from inhumane living conditions, poor sanitation, inadequate nutrition, poor personal hygiene, brutal physical and emotion attacks. If the victim ever escapes, they can be often looked down upon and shamed by the public or the village because they could be known as a prostitute in the Middle East. Victims are left with bruises, scars, and other signs of physical abuse and torture. They suffer from grief, mind and body separation, fear, self-hatred, drug addiction from when someone may have forced it upon them, suicide, and suicidal thoughts. They are also at very high risk for post-traumatic stress disorder, which can include depression, insomnia, physical hyperalertness, sexually transmitted diseases such as HIV and AIDS, and obviously getting pregnant. In conclusion, human trafficking is a highly profitable business driven by the demands for cheap or free labor and commercial sex, especially in the Middle East. It is an issue that tends to be swept under the rug, but in reality, the issue needs to be resolved and people should be more aware of it because it happens all over the world.